on this particular effort, who work together as they work together to get City Council Bill 25-0114 over the finish line. I'm very proud to be here this morning to sign this legislation, which tackles the rising issue of illegal activity at smoke shops across the city of Baltimore. We know especially activity that affects our young people, and as leaders, we really have a responsibility to support economic opportunity, to make sure folks have opportunities to build successful businesses in our city, but we also have a responsibility to uphold the law and to protect the health and well-being of all of our residents, especially our young people. This bill establishes clear zoning standards for smoke shops and requires a thoughtful review process before new locations can open. It also prevents new smoke shops within 750 feet of schools, parks, rec centers, or other smoke shops. These measures will help address the proliferation of these in our communities and create a more predictable framework for residents, business owners, and neighborhoods in Baltimore. I want to thank the City Council, community advocates, and everyone who contributed their time and expertise throughout this thoughtful process together. It's about building a healthier, safer, and stronger Baltimore for everyone who calls Baltimore home. And with that, I will turn it over to our City Council President, Council President Cohen. Sir.
Thanks, Mayor. First, let me thank the Mayor for his partnership in this important work. Let me really thank my colleagues. Councilman Glover and I have been working hand in hand on legislation that would enable us to padlock or shut down repeat bad actors. I also want to really thank Councilman Blanchard for his leadership on this zoning bill. Look, this City Council is using all of the tools at our disposal to aggressively go after this increasing public health and public safety crisis that is the mass proliferation of smoke shops in our city. And I want to be crystal clear. This City Council is pro-business. If you want to come here, start a restaurant, start a grocery store, we welcome you with open arms. Baltimoreans love seeing new businesses. What we do not want is folks who are selling poison to our children and to our communities. What we do not want is deceptive advertising, where folks are selling marijuana products when they are not a licensed cannabis dispensary. What we do not want is to find out, like we have in our hearing, that we have young people becoming addicted to vaping and other tobacco products at the age of 12, 13, 14. That is not something we want our children dealing with in the city of Baltimore. And what we especially do not want, which Councilman Glover and I have heard repeatedly, is a young person takes a hit of a product. We don't know what's in that product. We don't know whether it could be laced with fentanyl, any kind of toxic chemical, and that young person is now overdosing and is at the hospital because we don't know as a city what is going into these illicit, illegal products. I think Councilman Blanchard was spot on in using our city's zoning powers to prevent these pop-up proliferation smoke shops from coming anywhere near a school, anywhere near a playground, anywhere near a place where our children play, and in using zoning to prevent the mass density of smoke shops. Again, Baltimoreans want restaurants. They want grocery stores. They want movie theaters. They don't want 3 different smoke shops on one block. So I appreciate the councilman's leadership. I appreciate the coalition that has been working together on this issue. Again, we see this as both a public health and a public safety crisis, and we believe this is about improving quality of life for our city. The last thing I will say, and again, as we work to advance our legislation around padlocking smoke shops, is if you sell to our children, we are coming after you. And we are going to make it hurt in your pockets. We are going to shut you down. We are going to use zoning. We are going to use padlocking. We are going to use law enforcement. We are going to use every tool at our disposal to address this crisis in our communities. So with that, again, I want to thank the mayor for his open arms leadership and partnership on this issue, and want to welcome the bill sponsor, Councilman Zach Blanchard.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We're here. It's one of the most frustrating aspects, I think, of my job, and this is probably true of all elected officials, is when you keep getting feedback from community members about real problems that you know you want to fix and they're entrenched, and we just can't figure out how to get a hold and address these wicked problems. And this is what it looks like when you actually figure out how to do it, right? The council president had the line about using all the tools at our disposal. Well, we're creating tools, right? We're creating tools that we can then go and use to do this. I want to give thanks to a lot of folks. I want to give thanks to the mayor and your administration. A lot of times when you've got, I think, a big bill and has to work through all the legal requirements and the different agency processes, a lot of times you end up with kind of watering it down to just have it meet reality. We had some changes, but it actually made the bill stronger because we realized that we could phase out establishments that are within a couple blocks of our schools, parks, and rec centers, the places that are most likely to be influencing our young people. So that's something that we didn't have in the original version of the bill that I'm very thankful is becoming law today. I want to thank the council president, Councilman Glover, Councilman Jones, for all of everybody's consistent work on continuing to figure out what can we do next, right? We know this will be a bit of a whack-a-mole, like we have to keep working on this. It doesn't end today, but it starts today. Really proud of that. I do want to give a shout out to Vice President Middleton and Councilman Ramos. It was their bill putting minimum distance requirements between dollar stores and all the work that they did to figure out how to do that in a way that was legally sound in the state of Maryland. That was really like the initial impetus, my idea of, oh, we can do that for smoke shops too. So had they not figured out how to do it for dollar stores, I don't know if we ever would have figured out how to do it for smoke shops. I want to thank the American Heart Association for all their expertise, and all their guidance and feedback of how it's been done elsewhere. I want to thank Delegate Young and Senator Hayes for passing the legislation on the state level that is going to require establishments trying to come in, so they will have to get the pre-approval from the city of Baltimore before they go get the state license. So we're not having to play whack-a-mole with places who are getting a state license just popping up in the middle of the neighborhood, and then we have to go and do the work on the back end to close a place that is already open. So that gives us a much stronger position. I want to thank them as well. Plenty's been said, and I think the public health impact in general, and particularly with our young people, with the current vaping epidemic that we have right now. But also I just want to note, right, the other piece of it too is this is a really big win for our main streets, for our neighborhood commercial corridors. I have a block, the 200 block of West Saratoga has 4 smoke shops on it. There's 8 smoke shops within 2 blocks of Cross Street Market. There's so many, East Monument Street, great example of this. There's so many areas that should be the types of places that Baltimoreans feel so proud as being part of their community and is the public space that you go to, not just to spend money, but to be in and really root your identity to the place that you live, that having an over-concentration of smoke shops really gives a negative impact on that. And not only to the community members, but they've been crowding out the types of businesses that we want in our communities. When a commercial property owner says, hey, I'd love to have you come in, but I know I can get this much for a smoke shop, right? So now we're taking that option off the table. And I think that plays a really important role in helping create the type of neighborhood commercial corridors that we want as well. So I am really excited both for today and more excited for 30 days from now when this actually gets enacted and the ball keeps rolling on this. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman, for your leadership and your partnership in showing that sometimes it does take some time, but it also takes true partnership. Not just working here at the city level, but the state level to make laws make sense for what we're seeing on the ground. Before we sign it, we're going to take questions from the media. And Jonas, just because I've seen that we've been joined by a Baltimore media legend in the background, ma'am, if you have any questions, we'll let you go first today. Welcome home.
Thank you very much. I'm actually shadowing Tara Lynn.
Oh, you're sharing. That's a big shadow, Tara. It's a big, big shadow.
I'm shadowing her.
Yeah, it's a big shadow.
I know that this doesn't go into law for 30 days, right? But how quickly will neighbors start to see these actions in their neighborhoods? Because I think it's one thing to sign a piece of paper, but another to get these main streets back up and running.
Well, I think, listen, we're talking about overall things that we can prevent from happening. For the ones that are there now, we don't want to put things out, but we will be doing things to see how we can deal with ones that are places that they shouldn't be. But we know this is going to be a process to make sure that we're dealing with this issue. This isn't, as the councilman said, this isn't something that's just going to go overnight. We're going to continue to build. There's going to be other legislation coming that you heard the council president talking about how we can deal with some of those bad actors, and we will be signing that literally. As soon as they pass it to me, we'll be signing that so that we can move forward with that one as well. This isn't about one fix for this issue. This is about our partners in the legislative body using the full power of their offices to make sure that we on the executive side have the tools to enforce, and we're going to be very thankful that more are coming our way.
Yeah, just specifically, I'll note that the phase out starts 2 years from the enactment date, right? So for, I think about half of the smoke shops in the city, and this is wild, but about half of the smoke shops in the city are within 3 blocks of the school or park or rec center. And so unless they have, there's a couple of exceptions that would allow for a 3-year period. So that would be a big milestone when we hit that 2-year mark.
Can I just add really quick to that, Tara? Like the mayor, like the councilman said, this really is about partnership. We know that it's going to take the federal, the state, and the local government all working together. We know that it's going to take a lot of law enforcement. We know that our health department is involved, the sheriff's office is involved, BPD, ATCC. There are a number of agencies at all the different levels, and what I think you're seeing today is we're all working together. Is a coordinated effort by the executive and legislative branches in the city of Baltimore. And I'll just echo something that Councilman Blanchard said, and he's been a real leader for us on addressing some of the issues in our main streets. We know that when main streets become overly proliferated with smoke shops, it is not good. People don't want to go down Monument or Thames Street or into Federal Hill and just see smoke shops. It is bad for business, for all the other businesses, when that's what people experience. And so I think there is also this question, and it's why I'm so glad the council is using its zoning power to think strategically about what it means to be a city that is welcoming to all different types of businesses, but is clear that we do not need an overproliferation. I remember as a teacher, when I taught in Sandtown Winchester, there was a liquor store on every corner, right? And young people would walk through the liquor store, behind the liquor store, right? It was, you had to beat a path to get to school in the morning. That is not good for those young people. They see folks who are inebriated, they see a product that they don't need to see more of, that is oversaturated in their community. It is almost the exact same dynamic we're seeing right now, where young people are walking to school and seeing smoke shop, smoke shop, smoke shop on every block. The message that they receive, especially with the way these folks are advertising to kids, is this is a product for you. When we know that just like alcohol or any other drug, any other narcotic, it can have extremely bad consequences for the health of our young people over their lives. And so I think addressing this from a zoning perspective, as well as law enforcement and all the other partnerships, is extremely important.
One question on the zoning, I guess this is either for the mayor or the council president. You said that this has a lot of teeth. You're using the teeth of the law to go after these folks. What's next? What other issues are there out there that you're going to use the teeth that can we see in the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, I won't speak to the legislative process. I'll let the council members talk about that. But for us, as you know, we use every tool at our disposal, whether it's padlocking that we do now, whether it's obviously through our law enforcement avenues, whether it's through court, as you've seen, we will use whatever tool we have to get at public safety and public health issues in the city of Baltimore, and we'll continue to do that. But that's going to happen on a case-by-case basis and what we're actually legally allowed to do under the law.
I'll just add, and I'm going to ask Councilman Glover to join me for a quick moment, is what we're going to build together that would enable the police department and other law enforcement agencies to padlock repeat bad actors. So where we have a situation where a person receives multiple violations, there would be an adjudicating board that could determine whether the police department, law enforcement could then padlock them and shut them down. We see this as extremely important because ultimately people respond to financial consequences or incentives. And what we've unfortunately heard, I'm going to have Councilman Glover share a little bit about it, is that folks get slapped with a $500 fine and then they're back operating the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Law enforcement is overwhelmed by the amount of smoke shops. There are over 1,200 in the city of Baltimore that's licensed. How, as law enforcement, if you don't have the capacity to shut them down, how do you deal with that on a one-by-one basis? And I would just ask the councilman to share some of his insight, particularly about his neighborhood, his district in East Baltimore.
Thank you, Mr. President. First and foremost, I want to thank the mayor, the sponsor of the bill, also Councilman Blanchard, and our President Z. Cohen for also standing with me in solidarity as we move forward with these smoke shop bills. To piggyback off what the President was saying early on, we have many, smoke shops within my district that have gotten raided, multiple times, actually like 4 times. And what I see, and what the community sees, that is a smack in our face, right? Because they feel like we're not doing what we got to do to just close down these smoke shops. But again, people need to understand there's a process, and what we're doing is that we're taking forth the effort to start that process. So again, when you have an individual that you've seen gone back and forth to school into a smoke shop, and you identify that individual, and now you see that individual in the back of the alley with a needle in his arm, that shows me right there that we are creating the next generation of addicts in the city of Baltimore. We want to stop it now. We're going to stop it. Thank you.
Mayor Scott, staying on the topic of improving public safety, we did want to ask about going for the weekend, we're hearing from a number of business owners and residents who say that they've been raising ongoing concerns with the disorderly crowds, illegal alcohol sales, open container violations, and juveniles breaking curfew. They say that even with the new entertainment district unit, that they're not seeing improvements in these crimes, that they are driving away customers from their businesses. There was also a shooting in Bells over the weekend, so that being said, what's your response to those concerns?
Yeah, we take those concerns very seriously. In fact, we take those concerns everywhere. We just talked with Councilman Blanchard and his neighbors about some stuff in Fed Hill. We saw that shooting. I was out of town this weekend, but I met with the commissioner yesterday. We talked about that. I actually had residents show us videos online. The truth is, in that case, is the police were right there. You saw the video by now, where the shooting goes off and the police officer runs right to it with his gun drawn. What that shows me, Rebecca, is that you have people who don't care where it is. They don't care if the police are there. They're going to try to handle their little beef in whatever way they can. We're going to continue to beef up and do more in everything that we can do from a law enforcement point of view. We know that every summer for now since COVID, right, we've been dealing with these large gatherings of people, not just in Baltimore, but around the country. BPD has a direct order from us to make sure that we go back to doing some of the things that we had success in over the last few years, and we're going to continue to do that because we are not, again, going to just tolerate those things for folks to do that. We will always follow the law. I know that they made a handgun arrest down there just yesterday, right? We know that they're out there and doing their work, and we're going to continue to support them to do that and work with our partners, not just in the city council, but in the state and others, to hold people accountable. But we also have to, again, I'm going to say this to the cows come home when it comes to the children, that this is not going to solely fall on the backs of the police department or the city. We need parents to hold their children accountable as well. Because when and if, and you guys ask this question all the time, BPD arrests some young person for doing something wrong, and then lo and behold, 3 months later, we're arresting the same young person for doing something wrong. Not only is it the state and other folks' responsibility to hold them accountable, we cannot eliminate the responsibility of parents. I know for me, if I was somewhere I wasn't supposed to be, and I got caught by the police back in the day when they had curfew wagons, the curfew wagon was the least of my worry. I did not want to go home after that. And we have to have parents, especially in this age where they literally, we know they're tracking where their young people are because they have it on their phone. We have to have that accountability, and we'll make sure I'll make sure that my agencies have the accountability they need as well.
In terms of what you're directing the police to do and that heightened.
Now, you know I'm not going to tell you out loud so that everyone, including the people who break the law, is going to know exactly what we're doing. As my grandmother would say, I might be dumb, but I'm not stupid enough to tell you out loud so they'll know. We'll have the appropriate law enforcement tactics.
Would it warning people that you would be issuing citations just be a deterrent?
Well, they already know that. They already know that we'll make them pour out the liquor. They already know that we'll give out citations. They know that. It was not that simple, but we'll do what we need to do. Thank you.
Last question. Rebecca, open it for other questions.
Issue and that they're seeing these open containers freely while police are standing right there.
Yeah, no, that's something that I addressed as well. And we know that they have and they will be doing more. But also, that it's not just about the citations. It's about them making sure that people, when they're doing illegal activity, are moving or moved from the situation. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.